Hey guys, Andrew Henderson, Nomad Capitalist. Day 3 of quarantine week here from my home in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. My tea of the day, Haute Couture from TWG. Love this one with there's like caramel and rose. Really nice tea to be drinking here as we watch the world recover. And really what I want to talk about today is permanence. This is something that fascinates me, is watching people in so many of life's situations and watching not only fear is something that's justified, but anxiety. And, as someone who has dealt with anxiety in business, over the years, I know that it's a lot of worrying about stuff that you're not sure what's going to happen. And I think that when you do that, you lose a sense of the options that you have. Right now we have a market panic. We have a virus panic. People are scared. And some of that fear is justified. I'm not here to say that this is a fake virus or a fake situation. Certainly some of the response seems overblown. And certainly some of the anxiety that people have is overblown. Obviously, some people are being affected, but what I try and focus on is that nothing is going to be permanent. For the last 10 years, we've had various scares and epidemics and things like that, but you've had a great economy, and you've had people who've gotten into business, who have done well, and who may have not seen some of the downturns. I'll talk about that in a moment. And whenever you have a good economy, people think the party will never end. And you get a lot of businesses that maybe don't deserve to be in business. You get a lot of people who are doing some of the wrong things and don't have the principles of their business or the principles of their investments covered. You get people who get into the stock market and make 30% in one of the years that like we've seen recently, and now they're a stock market genius, when in reality they got lucky. Warren Buffett is a stock market genius. Others are geniuses. But some folks get lucky. And they imagine, hey, this will never end. I remember living in Arizona in the United States, in this kind of boom area of the United States in the mid-2000s. And I was just starting my business. When I was 19 years old, I had a little nighttime job at a restaurant near my house. I'd worked in restaurants throughout high school, so I got a job at a restaurant. And I saw all these people going in like 2004 into being real estate agents. That was the thing. I don't think many of them were real estate agents a couple of years later when the market collapsed, because they didn't have a passion for real estate. They just thought, that's the new hot way to make money. And then I watched in my own business as people went on, and some of the guys who were in real estate, mortgage, whatever, well, now they were gold guys. Now they were like, you got to have strong, precious metals, right? So you want to have some principles. You have to have, principles that determine, what do you believe, and understand that no bull market is going to last forever. The same way that this is not going to last forever. Now, whether it's over tomorrow, a week, a month, or a year, I think that if we escape the anxiety, escape the panic, we'll all realize it's going to be okay. Obviously, some folks aren't going to make it through. The same way folks don't make it through all number of other things. People drive their car and don't make it every day. But we're going to make it. And you'll look back on this and say that was a great buying opportunity to move some of my money into other currencies, to go out and get residences and passports and do deals, buy real estate. If not today, then a couple months from now. We will look back on this and we'll say, we survived it the way we have everything else. I'm not here to prognosticate as to when that's going to be. Certainly, again, you've got a lot of people who are getting carried away with this. And I think the more that you're glued to your television and social media, the more freaked out you get. I have taken somewhat of a news detox to avoid just being buried in this stuff, because it really erodes your sense of this isn't permanent. One thing that I've mentioned, I really sometimes have trouble getting folks that I'm working with to understand is, if you choose to leave Canada and move to Malaysia, because that gives you a better lifestyle, lower cost of living, tax benefits for your business, etc., and you don't like Malaysia, you can move anytime you want. There may be a few procedures to follow or forms to fill out or whatever, But you can move, nobody's forcing you to live in Malaysia. You can move to Thailand, you can move to Panama, Kathmandu, or you can go back to Canada. The only really permanent thing we talk about here is if you're one of the few people who just gives up your citizenship. If it's the United States, you can't get that back. But everything else here, there's nothing permanent. And I think that so many folks struggle when it comes to this offshore stuff because they feel like they have to do it forever. They're making lifelong decisions. When the reality is, in my mind, what I tell everyone who works on my team is, imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. Inaction is driven by anxiety. Okay, and so I think a lot of people are going to be sitting on the sidelines. They're going to miss out on opportunities. Now, I know there are a few of you out there who it really turns you on the idea that finally your time has come and everything is collapsing and it's the point of no return and we're going to be eating stones for soup and living in huts. If you think that, I can't help you. I can't. I'm not a doomsdayer, and I understand that good times come and bad times come. But I think what's really important here is Robert Kiyosaki, who's speaking at Nomad Capitalist Live. Robert Kiyosaki says, don't work for money. Work for knowledge. Work to be better. I had a guy who was a client of ours, friend of ours, who is a world-class poker player, one of the top rated in the world right now. And when we asked him a couple years ago, what motivates you to keep doing this and go harder at it, he said, mastery. This, to me, is what separates the people who are going to succeed and the people who are not going to succeed going forward, because times like this are cleansing. For all the folks who have not had their business game in order and have been coasting solely based on a good economy, maybe you should worry. If you think your business is going to go out of business, then maybe none of this matters, and maybe you need to figure out what else you're going to do. But for everyone else, my friend Will Freeman from Revolutionary Lifestyle Design talks about hustlers versus builders. And if you've been out there hustling, and you've been out there, doing something you don't care about, that's the trick of the day to make money, and there are people out there who are out there who are making good money. Millions of dollars in some cases with the hustle of the day. And I don't judge. But you have to understand, if you've got a hustle, that's not going to last forever. I remember watching Shark Tank once, and Robert Herjavec said, sometimes you just start a business, you make a whack of cash, you move on to the next thing. And so if that's you, then understand that there are cleansing events in the economy. What changed for me a couple years ago was exactly what Will talked about, which was, I want to be a builder. And when you're building things, it's up and down. There are good times and there are bad times. I got into the thriving world of AM radio. I was basically what I called a market maker for infomercials. It's a real niche for you. But we were one of the best at it back in the late 2000s, early 2010s in the United States. And as you can imagine, the AM radio business is not exactly a thriving business, but we did very well. And when I first started, during the good times, during this huge, boom, where you'd go to the grocery store in the not so good part of town, and they'd be like, hey man, do you want to borrow $500,000 to buy a house? We'll give you 110% of the value, we'll give you some cash under the table, like whatever you need, we want to do deals. And that couldn't last. But back during that time, I would call people and I'd say, hey, do you want to host a radio show? Retail customers, in the financial business mostly, and doctors and dentists and stuff like that. We'd call them and we'd do a lot of retail deals. As the economy started to go down, we had to follow what Robert Kiyosaki was talking about. It wasn't only about money anymore, it was about knowledge. And what could we learn? And what I learned was, number one, you had to adapt. You had to contact those retail customers differently. Instead of doing direct mail, you had to call them. You had to try different things. But we also, from that, I was able to start kind of a second radio business where we got into serving large institutional clients because we found that they still had money and they were capitalizing on the opportunity. When prices in the radio market went down during the recession because people didn't want to advertise, we went out and I became a little bit known in the business, and we got connected with one of the largest insurance companies in the world. And they were a client for a while, doing radio shows nationally to promote what they were doing. We had big religious groups. We had people who were bumping up their spend selling health products and all kinds of different things. And literally, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who worked for one of the institutional clients that we had back in that business, and he was telling me, he said, I think our strategy was, hey, it's the middle of a recession. People are looking for ways to do some stuff. Now is the time for us to launch this new show, and it became a big, big thing for them. And they made a lot of money. The wealthy are going to profit from this because they are not fearful and they understand it's not permanent. I was just talking to my team the other day about some of the ultra high net worth individuals we've had the privilege to work with recently, and we were talking about how calm and collected they always are. And it's inspired me to be more calm and collected the more of them that I work with, and the more successful I become. But we were saying to ourselves, they're sitting at home, they're making their calculations, they're strategizing, but they're not panicking because they know they're fine. They did the things we talked about just yesterday. They have cash on hand, they have protections, they've got safeguards. You've got to decide, are you going to be a hustler or a builder? Are you going to be someone who takes action or someone who panics? Listen, I know there is a lot of fear out there, but it's also a great time for you to, number one, make sure that your business is still in a condition where it can grow. Okay? And again, if you don't want it to keep growing, if this is the end, then maybe you abandon it and you figure out the next thing. Nothing wrong with that. But if it is going to grow, how many people in the last recession invested in hiring more staff, invested in doing more advertising, more content creation, all the things that build a business, and then when things came back, they were ready to go? What we're going to be doing here, we're still pretty busy actually. We'll see how busy things are in 30 days. We've got some new people still coming in, but what I'm definitely having all the new people we hired recently is doing a lot of research on opportunities we may have missed before when we were too busy. So when we come back, we're going to make sure we know more than anybody. Because again, if you're building something, everything is temporary. This is why I believe the stuff we talk about is so important. Countries are temporary. Banks can be temporary. Opportunities can be temporary. Being diversified, being around the world, being a slave to no institution, no country, no government is a sound strategy, especially for times like these. Because if this keeps up, you will see some banks go under. You will see other problems in the market. And so, if you're living in a country where the banks aren't as secure, or you've got excess liquidity that's not insured in your bank, or whatever the case may be, maybe you consider a jurisdiction where it's stronger. Stuff like that. And that's really been the entire philosophy of Nomad Capitalist from when we started this. Was the country that's good today may not be good tomorrow, and you've got to be moving with the changing opportunities. It is work. It is work to run and build and grow and sustain a business. It's work to maintain wealth. But if you follow the stuff we talk about, I think you'll be better positioned than 99.9% of folks. And this is a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call of, are you in it to win it? How are you going to invest in your business? How are you going to invest in your portfolio to come out of this thriving? Nothing lasts forever. I'm not making prognostications, but I will tell you very simply, nothing lasts forever. And you'll be looking back on this whenever it may be in the future as the moment when you did great deals, or you went all in on your business and you came out doing well. So until tomorrow, nothing is permanent. Have a great day. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.